The only similarity of a tattoo is you're using a needle and you're implanting pigment into the skin.
Okay.
So a normal tattoo needle, it's more like a cluster of needles, so it's like a paintbrush. Okay. I would refer it to a paintbrush. Whereas these are single needles, very, very fine, like acupuncture needles, but I will show you when we do it. Also the fact with regard to the depth of the needle, it doesn't go as deep into the epidermis, into the skin, as a normal tattoo would.
Okay.
So a lot of people are saying it used to be called semi-permanent and it's now called permanent. The reason why we in the industry tend to call it permanent now is because of the fact that if you were to have it done once and never have it done again, it would fade over a course of time.
How long was that? Was it about 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it very much depends on the amount of pigment that's used, the depth of the pigment, and also the colour. Normally somebody, if they're going to have a much darker colour, it would last longer and it would show and be more visible than actually if you're going to have it paler, lighter, okay?
Yeah.
But the reason why permanent, if ever you were to go and have an MRI scan or a blood test or anything like that, there's always a tick box to say, have you had a tattoo?
Right, okay.
Because there may be tiny molecules of pigment that are left underneath the surface of the skin that wouldn't be visible.
So would I declare that then and say?
Yeah, you would, you would say, because like you have done with me, that you said you've got a tattoo already. But that's the only similarity. We do call it a tattoo, but there's other things like semi-permanent makeup, permanent makeup, micropigmentation. There's all sorts of different words, but people tend to call it a tattoo.
Okay.
But it's just to make you very aware that it's not as permanent and as deep as a normal.
You can have a tattoo, can't you?
Yes.
Some people do have that, but this isn't.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a big difference between a tattoo artist and a permanent makeup artist. So all treatments require perfecting, re-evaluation or a retouch. This is a two-part process. So the fact you have it done once today and then you'll come back 6 to 8 weeks later, because we have to allow you to go through the healing process first. So it is part of a two-part process. Okay.
It will be noticeably different today though.
Oh yes, it will be.
So that'll be after holiday because I'm going away. I'll come back after that.
Normally recommend if people, we say always to have it done, and I think I mentioned to you that you've got to have it done at least 3 weeks before because of your healing process. If you're going away on a sunny holiday, all the aftercare information I give you will include how to look after your brows when you're on holiday.
Right,
Because what happens is sun and chlorine are one of the two things that break down pigment. So just like the pigment in your skin changes colour when you're going brown, I'm implanting pigment in your skin, so that could possibly change colour if you're not using an SPF factor. But I will explain all of that in the aftercare. We talk about rare occasions the pigment migrate under the skin. What that actually means, if, say for instance, you've got very oily skin, where we would have a very fine defined hair stroke is the fact underneath the skin it could possibly spread slightly. So let's give you an exaggerated view. Blotting paper, if you put ink onto a blotting paper, it will spread. So if I was to do a hair stroke, underneath the skin, it could possibly slightly migrate, which would cause more of a powdered brow. So where you see people who choose to have block brows, block powdered brow, it's more like the impression of when you actually pencil in, because you can't pencil hair strokes, you will get a block of powder or a block of pencil, whereas I will do the hair strokes. So what migration means is that it migrates slightly underneath the skin. After the procedure, the pigment can be 30 to 50% darker. What I tend to do is I will choose the colour that I think is suitable and agree with you. And the colour is very much dependent on your skin tone. An example, if you have somebody who is Irish, they have very dark hair naturally, but they have almost pale translucent skin, which can take on a sort of greyish bluish colour. That's a cool tone to the skin. If I was to put a cool pigment into a cool skin tone, it would turn slightly bluey grey. And you've most probably seen people with slightly bluish tone to the permanent makeup. So what you have to do is you have to completely go the other end of the scale and warm that pigment up, because I'm sticking it into a cool skin. If you've got somebody the other end of the scale who's Scottish, they normally have slightly ruddy skin and ruddy cheeks, normally a warmth to their hair. Hairdressers will call it a pulling warm. So they'll have maybe strawberry blonde hair naturally, they'll have warmth in their hair. So that's a warm skin tone. So if I put a warm pigment into a warm skin tone, you've seen people walk around with slightly salmony warm colour eyebrows. Okay. But in every brown there is always the primary colour mixed into it of red.
Right.
Okay, to make that brown. Remember at school we used to do all these, right?
Yeah.
So this is where we've got to look at what colour we're going to use and what tone we're going to use that's going to work with your skin
So
tone.
you can probably tell already looking at me what you're going to use, or
I can, but also I'll ask questions. For instance, do you have any foreign sort of hereditary lines? So is there any Scottish, any Irish, any French? Because that will have an effect with regard to your skin tone. Yeah. Also the colour of your eyes, because a lot of people nowadays will actually change the colour of their hair.
Yeah.
I'm naturally blonde. I'm a strawberry blonde. Yeah. So and people don't think so. So the fact naturally somebody would think, okay, well because of the colour of her hair, we've got to put X, but they need to know hereditary and what it is naturally. So those are all the questions that we ask when we go through colour. And I personally go 20% lighter.
Okay.
The reason for that is because it's change for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So every morning you wake up, and before you look in the mirror, your subconscious knows what it's going to see.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I was to say to you before you look in the mirror, Michelle, can you give me an example, an explanation of what your face looks like? And you'd be able to tell me.
Yeah.
It would most probably include your eyebrows.
Yeah.
Okay. But what happens is, I tattoo your brows tomorrow morning, your subconscious won't have caught up, and it will think it's going to see. It will think it's going to see what you see today, but actually it's going to see something different.
Yeah.
And it's the difference in the change that is the hardest thing for me to manage for you.
Okay.
Hence why I always err on the side of caution, although I've been doing this for a long time, is I will go lighter, because you can always add, but you can't take away.
No, that sounds
and that's also with the drawing as well, because once your subconscious catches up, and after a couple of weeks when you've gone through the healing process, you will wake up and you know, you won't be able to remember what you used to look like or your brows, but you'll remember now, okay? And then you'll start thinking, oh, hang on, maybe I'd like to make it a little bit longer, or actually I like the colour
it's the
that
same
she
with hair,
did.
isn't it? When you get your hair coloured and you think, oh, do I go that dark? Or when you have your spray tan done and you think, oh, how dark do I go?
Exactly. So it's always erring on the side of caution, okay? General consent. Wanting to manage your expectations, okay? That's what's really, really important.
Yeah.
The most important thing with managing your expectations is to give you an understanding of what permanent makeup is. So we've talked about the similarity to a tattoo. One of the things is which affects permanent makeup is your skin characteristics. Okay. So if I was to say to somebody, I want you to raise your eyebrows, and we will do this when we draw on you, but want you to raise your eyebrows. So when people raise their eyebrows, there may be a situation where the muscle is stronger on one side than it is the other. Okay. So when that eyebrow raises, it raises higher than the other one. Just because I'm putting eyebrows on does not mean that's going to change. Okay. But it's only because of the fact that what we're doing is emphasising and defining the brow, and that's going to be the forefront in your mind, is the fact that you may notice that that eyebrow raises higher than the other one. It's not because of where we put the permanent makeup. Okay. Things with regard to other characteristics, eyes. If people have eyes that are different. So for instance with me, I always say to the students, I have one eyebrow, which is this one, that is tattooed higher than this one.
Okay.
It may not look it, and hopefully it doesn't, but the fact is the reason why it is because I have more of a hooded eye here.
Oh, okay.
I have a rounder nostril on one side, a higher cheekbone, and also a higher lip line. So we've got to look at the balance. You've heard of the expression, they're sisters, not twins. So if I was to fold your face in half, right now, very seldom would you find the eyes that match, the eyebrows that match each side of the face. So we have to look at the characteristics of somebody's face. So to start off with, I will measure with calipers and also a template guide for where we're actually going to draw the brows, incorporating your brows that you've got already. But maybe when you frown, maybe when you raise your eyebrows, maybe because of the shape of the eyes, maybe everything, there may be similarities, but they're not exactly mirroring each other. So I will adjust aesthetically your brows with the drawing accordingly. So the characteristics will stay the same, it's just the fact that I'm actually putting brows on those already made characteristics. pH balance of your skin. if people have oily skin, we talked about migration, so there may be a possibility that the hair stroke will not be as crisp as it would be once it's healed for somebody who has dry skin.
Okay.
Other factors, sunbeds that people use will thicken the skin. Alcohol, smoking will deoxygenate people's skin. So skin type plays a massive part with regard to the healing process.
I did mention to you, didn't I, that I get oily skin, and that's why another reason why I want it done, because the eyeliner or the eyebrow liner that I use would smudge onto the oily skin. So
does it come off?
Yeah, if I knock it, I wouldn't even know until I get in the car and look in the mirror and think, great, how nice something like that.
Well, that's the beauty of permanent makeup, but in your case, making you aware with regard to if there is oily skin, you obviously see all the pictures and other people that have done, and you will see the straight afterwards. You'll see, and you will on yourself see those really crisp hair strokes. But it's so important how you actually deal with the aftercare. But it's to make you aware that there's a possibility that it would not be as crisp, but you will still get a lovely brow. But it's just obviously managing your expectations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.